right now in relation to the Latino community. The Latin Times is a digital news agency which focuses on creating news for Latin Americans in the U.S. And I want to know a little bit about who you are, what's your past, where are you from? I assume you're Latina. What's your background, that sort of stuff. So first off, I want to start with who you are. What's your first and last name?
Uh, my name is actually Maria Carolina, but in an environment where all my coworkers speak English, so it's easier, and everyone in my family call me Maca as well. In Venezuela, I'm originally from Venezuela, so in Venezuela they used to use short names for everything. So yeah, it's Maca Casado. Um, I'm the Hispanic Media Director and spokesperson for the Biden-Harris campaign. I come from the DNC. I was a Hispanic Media Director at the DNC, like leading the efforts from the party to communicate to Latinos across the country ahead the midterms. And yeah, and after a very successful midterm, uh, for Latinos and the president and Democrats in general, well, I decided to assume like this new role. I'm beyond honored, um, to be called by the president and by Julie Chavez Rodriguez, to lead this effort to communicate to my people, which is my passion, talk to Latinos across the country. I'm originally from Venezuela. But before moving to Wilmington, with their headquarters is, I used to live in Miami, Florida, for almost 10 years, which was, like a big experience and very helpful for me to understand, and that, every diaspora is really different. Latinos, yeah, we are very alike, but we are also very different, as different as our accents in Spanish, like a Latino that comes from Mexico doesn't have the same concerns that a Latino that is coming from Cuba, or from Cuba or from Venezuela, and that's a reality. And that's something really important to understand when you are, communicating to Latinos across the country.
Where are you from in Venezuela?
I am from Puerto Ordaz, which is a small city. I was born in Cumaná, actually, which is like in the coast. Um, but then I moved to Puerto Ordaz, and then I lived in Caracas for 14 years. When I went to university, I went to journalism school, actually. I graduated in Venezuela. And I work as a journalist, actually as a TV producer for many years in Venezuela, in a TV station called Globovisión, which was like a very representative small station, because it was like the only one that was, in opposition to the Chavez regime at that time. And then basically the TV station was taken by the regime, and I decided that there was not, room for a free exercise of the journalism in Venezuela, and politic was my passion as well, and I always understood that there wasn't, like a lot of space for me to do what I wanted to do. And it was very hard. In 2014, I made a decision, to come to the United States. It wasn't easy. I left my family, my career, my house, my home, everything, and moved by myself to start again. And I'm glad I did, because I feel that what I'm doing for my community is very important.
So in 2014, you decided to come and move to the
Yeah,
U.S. How old were you then?
I was 30.
And what was
Yeah,
that
it
like
wasn't
for you to
easy.
come to the U.S. and be in a whole new place?
It was very scary, like, especially because I had a career, and I had, like an apartment and a life, and I was 30. I wasn't, like 15 anymore. So it was hard. I had a lot of dreams, big dreams, and I was, afraid that I wasn't gonna be able to make it. Uh, but I started working super, super, super hard, like try to find path and ways to get what I wanted to. And listen, one of the things that I love this country and that I really value, it's like this is the land of the possible. If you work hard, if you work and put yourself in it, you are gonna thrive.
And so when you moved to the U.S. in 2014, did you move with any family? What was that like? What was your immigration
No,
process like?
at that moment, my brother was living in Florida, my little brother, and but he stayed only for a few months and then he went back to Venezuela. So it was basically me. Um, at the beginning, well, what I wanted to do was like, to study English at a university. At that point, I wanted to write properly because I knew that for the work that I wanted to do, it was, you know, absolutely non-negotiable to be fully bilingual, at least, to be able to write perfectly in English. So I dedicated, I'll say, a full year to study English at FIU. It was a great experience. I was able to meet people again from all over the world, Latinos from different places as well, and to start, like building a community. And it was a great, great experience. Then when I was, like I was feeling, in a good place regarding my English, I started like looking for some opportunities, looking for, a job, and Hillary Clinton announced that she was running for president. And that was like a dream for me, like a dream to me, like supporting someone like Hillary Clinton. I mean, and at some point they opened like a small office. Well, it wasn't that small. It was like they called it HQ in Wynwood. It was like a big office with the Florida, team for the Hillary for America campaign. And I just show up there and I said, "Hey, I want to work. I want a job, And there was a Venezuelan there as Hispanic Media Director, called Francisco Pelayo, which is, I'm really thankful to Francisco. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for him. And I was like, "Hey, I'm Venezuelan as well. I would like to have an opportunity." And he was like, "Well, you are more than welcome to work as a volunteer." And I was like, "Awesome." And I started as a volunteer, basically as a press fellow, I would say, for Hispanic media. And it was an amazing opportunity to understand, the process, what is at stake as well, and to understand a little bit about, American policy. I fall politics and I fall in love with it. Let me tell you, in that office, I knew that I was where I wanted to be the rest of my life. um, and to understand like everything we were doing at that point. And at this point is even more critical because right now we are basically fighting to, protect our democracy. I already lost one country and I don't want to lose a second one. I have a son, he was born here. This is my home now. And I will do everything it takes, to protect my new home, from extremism, from all all the things that are implicit in that MAGA agenda that Republicans are like pushing and pushing and pushing. And I understand that this is basically a battle for the soul of the nation. And it's been a long journey. As I said, I started as a volunteer at the Clinton campaign in 2016. Well, when she lost, that was really hard. That was really hard for me, as an immigrant, as a woman. Uh, it doesn't have to do anything with left or right, but Donald Trump is, no one reminds me to Hugo Chavez like Donald Trump, for example, that. And also, that authoritarianism, that populism, that way to use people to threaten women, immigrants, it was really painful for me, and to see like what happened to this, amazing country. And then I was even more engaged and even more, invested in fighting for what I believe. Um, at that point, when she lost, well, I started, like looking for jobs in Miami. I work in a couple, TV stations down there, but I knew that I wanted, to follow my path in politics. Um, thank God, during the Clinton campaign, I was able to prove that, that I'm a fast learner, and I was able to make like some connections. And at some point, they even hired me as a press assistant. And the very last day, the boss of my boss told me, like, Maca, you should keep, this is what you should keep, doing. And I was like, I'm planning to, And then in 2018, when it was like basically Trump's midterm, I started working in a congressional race for a candidate in South Florida. He was the first LGBTQ candidate to the Congress in Florida. It was a Democratic primary against Donna Shalala. It was David Richardson against Donna Shalala. David lost. I worked for his campaign like for 5 months. And when he lost, she called me to join her team. And it was a great, great, great opportunity. Donna Shalala, well, she's a trailblazer, she's an icon, and she gave me a lot of room to explore and to think outside of the box. And I became her press secretary. And she, without speaking Spanish, she won a 70% Latino district against a Cuban American. So it was an amazing race. My little one was born right after the election, and then I joined, like her congressional office as an advisor, and I stayed with her for a couple of years until I started working for the 2020 Biden campaign as a regional press secretary for South Florida. It was a great experience. Um, it was a great opportunity, to connect with all of those diasporas in Florida, to talk to Cubans, Colombians, Venezuelans, even Mexicans. There is a big Mexican community in Florida, but also Nicaraguans, Colombians, Dominicans. It was really, really powerful. Um, After that work at the Biden campaign, I decided, I was exhausted. I took a few months to rest, and then I started working at Florida Department of Agriculture. It was awesome, Joshua. It was like a missing piece for what would it become my role, the farm workers, understanding how important they are for our economy, and for Florida's economy, and how much work we need to do, to improve their conditions, considering everything they do for us, and that they put the food in our table. It was a great experience. I worked at the Florida Agriculture Department for almost 10 months when the DNC reached out to me and said, hey, we want you on board. And I was beyond excited and beyond honored. I was ready to go on national scale and to communicate to Latinos in Arizona, in Nevada, in Colorado, in Nuevo Mexico. I knew it was going to be a huge challenge, but I was ready for it. And I already had like a little plan on my mind on how to get it done. I can proudly say that, during my time at the DNC, we did unprecedented investments, reaching Latinos. We did a seven figures investment targeting Latinos ahead the midterms. That's something that wasn't, never done at the DNC at a non-presidential election. So we invested heavily in states like Arizona and Pennsylvania, where we won the Latino vote 3-1. and we were like building the pipeline for what's coming in 2024.